A very good evening, aspirants. Welcome to daily newspaper analysis of Shankar IAS Academy. Displayed here are the list of news articles that we are going to discuss today. As you can see, we have chosen news articles from different newspapers. So without much delay, let us get into the first news article discussion. Look at this question about main Tansen. Here 4 statements are given. You have to find which of the statements given here is incorrect. Now before getting into the answer for the question, let us try to understand who is Tansen. See, Tansen originally named Ramtanu Pandey. He was a prominent figure in the court of Mughal Emperor Akbar. He is celebrated as one of the greatest musicians in Indian history and was one of the 9 jewels, that is Navaratnas, in Akbar's court. Also remember, Tansen is a title which was given to him by Raja Vikramajit of Gwalior, where he was initially trained and recognized for his musical talent. Now talking about his contribution to music, see, Tansen was not only a court poet for Raja Ramchandra Singh of Rewa, but later became one of the most influential musicians in the court of Emperor Akbar. He is specialized in the Drupad style, which is a form of devotional music that traces back to the ancient text of Hinduism. Drupad music is characterized by its solemn, devotional and majestic nature, and it serves as a form of worship and meditation. Remember, Tansen is credited with creating several new ragas which have had a lasting impact on Indian classical music. Let me list out them one by one. Firstly, Darbari Kanhra. This is a raga typically performed in the night, known for its deep, serious and somber tone. Then Main Ki Todi. It is a morning raga evoking the mood of devotion and melancholy. Then Main Ki Sarang. It is a raga for the midday, known for its light and uplifting mood. Then Main Ki Malhar. It is a seasonal raga associated with the monsoon, invoking the joy and exuberance of the rainy season. Along with this, Tansen composed numerous drupads focused on Hindu gods and goddesses like Ganesha, Shiva, Parvati and Rama. These compositions not only showcased his devotion but also his ability to imbue his music with a spiritual essence that could evoke deep emotional responses. Akbar gave him the title of Kandabaran Vanivilas, signifying his admiration for Tansen's vocal prose and his ornamental contribution to the music ambience of the court. So these are certain very relevant facts that you have to remember about main Tansen. Now let us look at the question. Look at this first option. It says Tansen was the title given to him by Emperor Akbar. This statement is incorrect because, as we know, Tansen was the title given to him by Raja Vikramajit of Gwalior. All other statements are correct. Since the question asks for the incorrect statement, the correct option for the question is option A. Now moving on, look at this question. Here 3 statements are given. You have to find which of the statements given here is or are correct. Look at this first statement. It says agricultural soil releases nitrogen oxide into environment. See, nitrogen oxide are released into environment due to the factors like soil's biological process and biomass burning. Apart from this, agriculture remains the largest contributor to the emission of nitrogen, followed by sewage and organic solid waste. So the first statement is correct here. Now the second statement says cattle release ammonia into environment. Know that cattle releases both ammonia and methane into the atmosphere. While cattle account for 80% of the production of ammonia, the statement given here is actually correct. Now the third statement says poultry industry releases reactive nitrogen compounds in environment. Actually, this statement is also correct. It accounts for a huge excretion of reactive nitrogen compounds. So the correct answer for this particular question is option D, 1, 2 and 3. Take a look at this text and context article. It talks about MRI. MRI is important for imaging inside our bodies without needing surgery. See, the basics of MRI were figured out in the early 1970s. Paul Lauterbach and Peter Mansfield improved MRI in the late 1970s, making it for practical use. They won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for their work in MRI. So in this news article discussion, let us understand what is MRI and how it works. See, firstly know that MRI stands for magnetic resonance imaging. It is a way to take detailed picture of the inside of your body without using harmful radiation like X-rays. MRI helps doctors see soft tissues inside your body like organs, muscles and nerves. It is really good for looking at the brain, heart, joints and many other body parts. Doctors use MRI to diagnose and treat lots of different health problems. It is essentially useful for things like cancer, brain disease and conditions affecting the spine and joints. MRI machines use strong magnets and radio waves to create detailed images. It is like taking a big picture of the inside of your body. So this is the basics about MRI. Now let us see how MRI actually works. See, when you go into the MRI machine, you are surrounded by a really strong magnet. This magnet makes your body's tiny particles called atom act in a specific way. The machine sends out harmless radio waves. These radio waves are turned to a frequency that interact with the hydrogen atom in your body. Inside your body, you have lot of hydrogen atoms, especially in water and fat. So when the radio waves hit these atoms, they absorb the energy and start spinning in a certain way. As the hydrogen atom absorbs and then releases the energy from the radio waves, they produce their own radio signals. These signals are different depending on the type of tissue they come from. These signals are picked up by the MRI machine, which turns them into detailed picture of the inside of your body. The pictures show doctors all the soft part inside you like organs, muscles and even nerves. It helps them see if anything is wrong without needing to do surgery or use harmful radiation. As I said earlier, different types of tissue produce different signals. So the images show doctors the different parts of your body in great detail. To sum it up, MRI is like a large magnet taking special picture of your inside using gentle waves and helping doctor see what's going on in there. Now let us see what are all the harmful effects of MRI. See, the strong magnetic field of an MRI machine can be dangerous if you have metal implants or objects in your body like pacemaker, artificial joints or certain type of surgical clips. The magnet can move or heat up these objects, causing serious injury. That is why it is crucial to inform the medical staff if you have any metal implants or objects before undergoing an MRI. Then apart from this, some people may feel anxious or claustrophobic inside the narrow MRI tube. If you are prone to claustrophobia, you can discuss your concerns with your healthcare provider beforehand. So overall, MRI is a safe and valuable diagnostic tool when performed by trained professionals and with appropriate precautions. These are all the facts that you have to remember about MRI. It is a very important topic from the science and tech part. So just remember these facts. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Look at this text and context article. This article discusses in detail about carbon forming. So let us understand about the concept of carbon forming using our mains answer writing discussion. This topic can be asked under the syllabus of the exam as mentioned here. Now let me read out the question for you. What are some techniques within carbon forming which can reduce greenhouse gas emissions? What are the challenges in implementing such techniques, especially in developing countries such as India? What are some of the global initiatives? As you can see, this is a very straightforward question which expect you to answer in 3 different parts. So let us try to answer this particular question. In the introduction part, you can write what is carbon forming. You can write that carbon forming is an innovative agricultural approach that focuses on reducing greenhouse gas emission and enhancing carbon storage in the soil. It blends traditional farming with ecological science to promote practices that are beneficial for the environment. This strategy is becoming increasingly important as the world seeks to combat climate change. So you can write these points in the introduction part. So as mentioned in the introduction part, carbon forming is a set of agricultural methods that aim to store carbon in the soil, crop root, wood and leaves. The technical term for this is carbon sequestration. So the overall goal of carbon forming is to create a net loss of carbon from the atmosphere. Okay. So with this understanding, let us try to address the first part of the body of the answer. Here you have to write about the techniques in carbon forming that can reduce greenhouse gas emissions. See, the first thing is agroforestry. Integrating trees and shrubs into agricultural landscape helps sequester carbon in the biomass of the trees and improve soil health. Secondly, conservation agriculture. See, practices like no-till farming, crop rotation and cover cropping reduce soil erosion, increase water retention and build soil organic matter, leading to increased carbon sequestration. Here you can mention about the Saguna rice technique of India. This promotes no-till farming to enhance soil health and biodiversity. Then thirdly, rotational grazing. See, managing livestock movement to prevent overgrazing ensures grasslands can recover. This can enhance their ability to store more carbon. Fourthly, integrated nutrient management. See, using organic fertilizers instead of synthetic one reduces nitrous oxide emission, which is a potential greenhouse gas. Then finally, enhanced crop residue management. See, leaving crop residue on fields, which is in other name called as stubble retention, rather than burning them, will not only prevent emission but also contribute to soil carbon stocks. So you can write these points in the first part, which ask for techniques in carbon forming that can reduce greenhouse gas emission. Moving on to the second part of the body, here you have to write about the challenges. Despite its potential, carbon forming faces several challenges, particularly in developing countries like India. Firstly, financial constraint. See, many farmers lack the capital to invest in new practice and technologies that are essential for implementing carbon forming. Secondly, water scarcity. Techniques like cover cropping require more water, but a scarce resource in many parts of India make it difficult to maintain additional vegetation needed for effective carbon sequestration. According to Niti Aayog report, per capita availability of water in India is projected to decline to 1,367 cubic meters by 2030. Thirdly, there is a significant gap in knowledge and skills required to implement sophisticated carbon forming techniques. Farmers need training and continuous support to adopt these practices successfully. Then effective implementation requires robust policy support from the government, including incentives for farmers and recognition of carbon credits. Finally, certain regions may not be suitable for all type of carbon forming practices due to their climatic or geological conditions. So you can write these points in the second part, which ask for challenges. Now in the final part, you have to write about some of the global initiatives in carbon forming. Here you can write that firstly, the Carbon Forming Initiative of Australia. This program provides a framework for Australian farmers and land managers to earn carbon credit by storing carbon or reducing greenhouse gas emission on the land. Secondly, the 4 per 1000 initiative. It was launched during the COP21 in Paris. This initiative aims to increase global soil carbon stocks by 0.4% per year as a measure to mitigate climate change. Then thirdly, Kenya's agricultural carbon project. This is supported by World Bank. This project focuses on sustainable agricultural practices that improve food security and reduce carbon emission. So you can write these points in the third part of the answer. You can write few more initiatives of India here, like for example, the Indian government has recognized the importance of carbon forming as part of its climate change mitigation strategy. So initiatives like the Soil Health Card Scheme and Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana (PKVY) promote organic farming and sustainable agricultural practices that are aligned with carbon forming principles. Then institutions like the Indian Council of Agricultural Research (ICAR) are actively researching carbon forming practices suitable for various Indian agroclimatic zones. So you can write these points and come to the conclusion part. Here you can write that carbon forming is a promising strategy to mitigate climate change and boost agricultural productivity by sequestering carbon in soil. However, it faces significant challenges including financial constraint, technical complexities and inadequate policy support, particularly in developing countries like India. So international cooperation and initiatives like the Global Soil Health Program are also vital to integrate carbon forming into global climate strategies effectively. So you can write these points and conclude your answer. So in this news article discussion, we saw in detail about what is carbon forming, then we saw what are all the techniques used, and then we saw what is the constraint or the challenge of implementing them in India, and what are all some of the world initiative regarding carbon forming. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Look at this news article. The article highlights the vibrant coffee culture of Ukraine even in the times of conflict. Despite the Russian invasion, coffee shops continue to thrive, symbolizing resilience of Ukraine society. So in this backdrop, let us revise about coffee from the prelims perspective. See, coffee is a tropical plantation crop. Its seeds are roasted, ground and are used as a beverage. Let us see the geographical conditions required for coffee. Firstly, climatic condition of warm and wet climate. Secondly, a well-drained loamy soil and a soil which is rich in humus and minerals like iron and calcium are ideal. Thirdly, the temperature ranging between 15 degrees Celsius and 28 degrees Celsius and rainfall ranging of 150 to 250 centimeter is necessary. Fourthly, it is generally grown under shady trees. So the condition like frost, snowfall, temperature above 30 degrees Celsius and strong sunshine is not good for coffee crops. Then coffee requires dry weather at the time of ripening of the berries. Finally, these crops are grown on hill slopes at a height of 600 to 1600 meter above mean sea level. So these are all various geographical conditions required for a coffee to grow. Now let us see the three important varieties of coffee. They are Robusta coffee, Arabica coffee and Liberica coffee. With respect to Robusta coffee variety, see, it is known for its strong and harsh taste and it is often described as grain-like one with a distinct earthy or woody flavor. Remember this fact, they have a higher caffeine content and are more bitter than Arabica. Then with respect to the cultivation of these crops, Robusta plants are hardy and can be grown at lower altitudes. It is because of these factors they are more suitable for regions with warmer climates. Remember, this type is more resistant to pest and disease compared to Arabica crops. Then just now I said it has higher caffeine content, right? Robusta bean typically contain around 2.2 to 2.7% caffeine, which is almost double the amount found in Arabica bean. These Robusta coffee is primarily produced in countries like Vietnam, Brazil and Indonesia, which have suitable low altitude tropical climate. So these are all facts that you have to remember about Robusta coffee. Now let's see about Arabica coffee variety. See, Arabica variety is known for its milder and more nuanced flavor profile with features like sweetness, acidity and aromatic. It can offer a wide range of flavors from fruity and floral to sugary and tangy notes and etc. These Arabica are more sensitive to environmental factors than Robusta, so it requires specific conditions to thrive like higher altitude, cooler temperature and ample rainfall. It is cultivated in countries like Latin America, Africa and Asia, which is known for their high altitude region and suitable climates. So these are the facts that you have to remember about Arabica variety. Now let's see about Liberica variety. Liberica coffee is the least common variety and is often considered to be an alternative or specialty coffee. The distinct and unique feature of Liberica variety is often described as smoky or woody in nature. Liberica coffee plants are larger and have larger leaves compared to Arabica and Robusta. The beans are irregularly shaped and have an asymmetrical crease in the center. Now before finishing, let us see the top 5 countries that produce the most coffee in the world. They are Brazil, Vietnam, Colombia, Indonesia and Ethiopia. So these are all very relevant facts that you have to remember about coffee. In this news article discussion, we saw its geographical conditions, then the 3 varieties where they are grown and their geographical distribution. So these learned points. Now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Look at this news article. It talks about a report from Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute, CMFRI, and the report states that marine heat waves have caused widespread coral bleaching in the Lakshadweep Sea since November. It has also stated that a marine heat wave event of moderate category with the area of spread 98.56 has been observed on Lakshadweep coast. This is the crux of the news article given here. So in our discussion, let us understand about what is this marine heat wave and some of its impacts from the prelims perspective. See, normally heat waves are associated with extended periods of heat weather conditions, and also we all know that heat wave occur in the atmosphere. However, heat waves can also occur in the ocean, and these are known as marine heat waves or MHWs. A marine heat wave is defined when seawater temperatures exceed a seasonally varied threshold, usually the 90th percentile, for at least 5 consecutive days. That is, if under normal conditions, say for example marine surface temperature in a particular area is around 20 degrees Celsius, if such an area's marine surface temperature hovers above 23 degrees Celsius for over 5 consecutive days, then a marine heat wave is said to have occurred. Another thing that you have to note is that marine heat waves do not just occur during summer, they also occur during winter. Now, what are all the causes for marine heat waves? See, the most important cause of marine heat wave is anthropogenic induced climate change. We know that we humans release a lot of greenhouse gas. The greenhouse gases are the major contributor to global warming. As the capacity of the atmosphere to absorb the heat is very less, more than 90% of the extra heat that has been trapped in the climate system due to climate change has been absorbed by the oceans. This is according to IPCC's AR5 and AR6 reports. Due to this, ocean water is getting warmer from the surface to higher depths. The other cause of marine heat wave or ocean current. Sometimes ocean current can result in building up of warm water in a particular area. The marine events like El Nino can also trigger marine heat wave in specific areas. Finally, wind have the potential to trigger marine heat waves in some areas. Sometimes winds also help disperate marine heat waves. So these are all some of the causes of marine heat waves. Now let us see the impacts of marine heat waves one by one. See, firstly, with respect to weather pattern, see, high ocean temperature which are associated with a marine heat wave can make hurricanes and tropical cyclones very stronger. Secondly, on the ocean life, marine heat waves can lead to coral bleaching, as we saw in the news today. They may also cause the death of several marine species, alter their migration pattern, and etc. So these are all certain facts that you have to remember about marine heat waves. So these learned points. Now let us move on to the next part of the news article discussion, which is the preliminary practice question discussion. Now look at this first question about marine heat waves. 3 statements are given. You have to find which of the statements given here is or are correct. See, here the first statement is incorrect because it happens both in summer and winter. It does not happen only in summer. Now the second statement says it can occur across all latitude, and the third statement says it can be recorded in deep waters. See, both the statements are correct. Marine heat waves can occur in both surface and deep water, across all latitude, and in all type of marine ecosystems. So the correct answer here is option B, 2 and 3 only. Now moving on, look at this question about cultivation of coffee. 3 statements are given and you have to find which of the statements given here is or are correct. Now the first statement says it require warm and wet climate with a temperature range of 15 to 25 degrees Celsius. See, this statement is actually correct as we saw in the discussion. Now the second statement says the marketing of coffee in India is spearheaded by the Coffee Board of India. This statement is incorrect as the marketing of coffee is privatized after LPG reforms of 1991. Now the third statement says stagnant water is necessary for the enrichment of aroma of the crop. See, this statement is absolutely incorrect. Actually, stagnant water damages the crops. So here the correct answer is option A, 1 only, because the first statement is alone correct here. Now look at this third question about MRI. 3 statements are given. Here the first statement says it can be safe for patients who have pacemaker in their body. See, this is absolutely wrong. It can damage. MRI machine can be dangerous if you have metal implants or objects in your body like pacemaker, artificial joints, or certain types of surgical clips. So the first statement is absolutely wrong. Now the second statement says it uses X-ray to capture the detailed images of organs. No, it uses radio waves and not X-rays. Now the third statement says it cannot be used to image the nervous system. No, it can be used to image even the nervous system as well. So the correct answer here is option D, none, because none of the statements given here is correct. With this, we came to the end of the news article discussion. If you like the video, hit like, do comment, and don't forget to subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel. Now, thank you so much for listening.